Hey
everybody.
What's going on, family? How y'all doing? Happy Friday.
Welcome to October.
Now, where did the Happy Friday come from? Is that what we doing now?
Man, I mean,
it's always been a Friday.
It's the end of the week. It's payday for some people. It's the first of the month. Wake up, wake up, wake up.
It's payday, but payday means you got to pay some people too. So
because my mortgage definitely came out this morning.
It can be a very bittersweet moment. However,
it really is.
All right, y'all. What's going on, fam? It's your cousin, your homegirl, Tanisha Peoples, live with my brothers are getting in good trouble all the time, Mr. Jason B. Allen and Mr. Nehemiah Frank, and we are the trio that talks that real shit. Formerly on Mondays, but now we kicking it to y'all on Friday. So I think we got into how we doing. I hope everybody's had a good week. It's been interesting around these parts, but at the end of the day, nonetheless, we are blessed because we made it. Show you right.
No, you're right about that. We did make it and we are here. So, it's a beautiful day outside. I'm just thankful to be at the beginning of October. Like it's going to be Halloween. Already. Before we know it, it'll be Christmas. Like, wow.
Yeah.
And before we know it, Jason B. Allen will be on the school board.
Yes.
I'm working so much. Actually, I have on my high school colors today, black and gold, representing one of the best public schools, even though it's seeing some struggles right now. We know that Frederick Douglass said, shun not the struggle. So we're going through some challenges, but I am representing my high school on today. So yes.
It seems like a lot of students and kids are going through a lot. So Tanisha, I know you said there was some stuff going on in your neck of the woods. Like, briefly tell us what's up there in Chicago.
I don't know so I was having this conversation the other day about the zombie apocalypse, right? And people have this idea that it's the stuff that's going to happen in the movies where you got all these like dead people walking around and biting on people and stuff. But I would say that, if you look at what's happening these days, we have a lot of zombies walking around, a lot of soulless people and just committing heinous crimes, especially gun crimes and gun violence is just rampant. And so over the past couple of weeks, we've seen at least 10 Chicago public school students shot in the streets, shot at school, shot out and about. Some of them have, of course, and sadly passed away. A lot of them are Black boys, and it's just really sad. And I want us to really talk about, and do something about the assault on our Black youth, because another thing that happened, my little cousin, 22 years old, Black boy, passed away. And I want to respect the family, but this is something that we need to talk about. His services were held yesterday because he passed away from drugs. And so when we look at this trend of our young people using drugs, and then we've lost a number of celebrities over the past couple of weeks to drug abuse, there is an assault on the Black community, and the assaults are coming in harder and they're hitting younger. And so we need to do something, or we will not be here. We had a bunch of zombies walking around, and the zombies are attacking the Black community. And it's sad. It's tragic. No one should have to bury their 14, 15, 9-year-old child. We've had some babies getting shot. I saw a story that Natasha Dunn posted. Shout out to the Chicago activists. A man on the west side of Chicago had to shield his daughter. He was taking her to preschool from gun violence. They shooting up the streets. They shooting up expressways. They shooting up everything.
He was shot while taking his baby to preschool.
He had to shield his daughter. A couple of weeks ago, another Black man was killed. Same way, taking his daughter to preschool, taking his daughter to school, and killed in a drive-by.
And we have to
talk about this.
No one is talking about it. I was having this conversation on Atlanta, ironically, and no one is talking about the atrocities that are happening in our local communities right before our faces. And it goes back to the lack of voter apathy that I'm seeing here in Atlanta. Like, look at what's going on with the Biden administration, and we see how they're treating the Haitians, and they're allowing it to happen. And then there's no movement on the George Floyd bill or around police reform or doing the actual work that we elected Democrats to do. And I'm seeing it here in Atlanta, the frustration of constituents who are like, we had young people who were killed,
we're gonna
who
talk
were
about
shot in the street. No one is talking about it. And I'm even going to say this. No one is talking about the murdered and missing LGBTQ plus youth who are Black and brown in our communities missing. They're missing from school. No one is saying anything. Like, no one is talking about how these kids are missing because they were put out of their homes during the pandemic because people did not want to accept who they are. And where are these children? And no one is talking about this at all. People don't even know.
So my goodness. So for those who are listening, make sure you guys share this video, retweet it, do all that you do when it comes to supporting TDRS. But listen, we have an incredible, I don't even know if incredible is the word that we want to use. We have a very heavy show. You know, so if you need to save this video and just come back to it on Monday because you want to enjoy the weekend, please do. But you know, for those who want to go ahead and push through it, thank you so much for joining us. We're going to be talking about Julius Jones today, who went to prison when he was 19 years old. And he has been on death for over 22 years. That's going to be coming up in just a minute. But I want to move over to Jason. So Jason, I know we've been talking about, our kids have been under attack. Julius Jones has been under attack. There's always this, this need to suppress Black kids, it seems, from white to brown. I don't know if it's just because we're just multi-talented or a threat to, the future workforce. I don't know what it is. Honestly, I don't believe that we really are, because there's not that many of us. But Jason, tell us what's going on in Atlanta. I know there's a protest going on there at 4:00 today. So what's that all about?
Well, wait, because that's the tea. So let us come in with, let Josh do his thing with the dope graphics. We're going to introduce the tea.
Oh, yeah. Y'all almost forgot about them dope.
I was like, we done went right. I was like, we went into the tea. I thought I had some time. I'm getting the alumni on and making sure that our retired educators, our constituents, our community leaders are chimed into the conversation. So if you are tuned in from Atlanta, the Metro Atlanta area, students, I gotta call you guys out, because I know some of them actually have their phones on while they're in school because they want to be tuned in, because this is so important. Some of the Atlanta Student Coalition leaders were frustrated yesterday with just everything that has been happening with public schools here in the city of Atlanta, specifically their school. And, a part of the conversation that they asked is that we see all of these organizations talking about equity, but it's not equity for us. And where are the organizations outside of Atlanta that are advocating for us? And quite frankly, I think Aisha and them are still searching to find organizations who are supported by philanthropists and, businesses and others in the community who want to see change, that are actually advocating for the children in public schools who are victims of the inequities in public housing, public transportation, and public education. And so as we talk about the violence against Black Americans in this country, Black women educators and Black female students at Douglas High School have been sexually harassed by the leader of the school, that now the new superintendent and the current board have allowed to remain at this school, when these employees know that this has happened. They are speaking out saying that this has happened to me. From my understanding, this has been going on for a long time, and not just at one school, but other schools. And the leadership and the board are aware of this. And
so it happened before he got to the school?
Yes. Some of the constituents within the Northwest Atlanta communities did an open records request. And they found the information, and this was presented in meetings, trying to go about doing this. Let's meet together. Let's work through this. Why are you all deciding this in this way when you know that our school has had drastic issues with leadership under your watch for at least the last 8 years? And so on yesterday, the students organized a protest to say, listen, you guys have reinstated someone. You all have harsher punitive policies against students and teachers than you do someone that's actually violating our rights. And they said they had enough, and they walked out and they did a protest. And so there was a video that hit the news on yesterday that really showed the educator who's still at the school. She's teaching right now at the school with the students, helping to bridge the gap. Like, listen, I'm still working at my job, but I cannot allow this type of harassment to happen to myself as a Black woman in a public school, and then also our Black female students, these young Black women and young brown women in this school who are also victims of being sexually harassed.
He asked her into his office.
And then before I noticed anything, he literally walked over to me, put his tongue in my mouth.
McEachern says she told a friend but did not make a formal complaint because she feared it would make her look weak, a decision she regrets. Her advice to others?
There is no strength in hiding.
Things got complicated when McEachern found herself working for Portee at Douglas, and he wanted to transfer her, claiming they knew each other outside of work, which would make it difficult to work together. She filed a complaint. An outside law firm investigated and concluded Ortiza Portee was not telling the truth when he denied groping McEachern.
There was very clear evidence that he was not truthful, that he had done this before.
APS suspended but did not fire the principal. Sherry McEachern was shocked.
Yeah.
Can I get in here first real quick?
Yeah, because I'm still trying.
I think first of all, as a Black woman, I am appalled. I'm disgusted. And I think that this is interesting on the heels of the R. Kelly trial.
Right.
Y'all ain't learned shit from chaos. I don't get it. Like, why do people think that they can just put their hands on people without consent? Especially our young people. Do you know the detriment, the trauma that you are causing them that will live on with them for days? All y'all ass go be in jail with chaos wishing y'all could fly. Dead ass, because it's ridiculous. Why do you think, especially as an educator, you are abusing your power as an adult, as an educator, and taking advantage of people and causing them, again, trauma? Yeah, and for the system, for the school district to only suspend this man, they are supporting, they're supporting his actions or validating his actions. That's ridiculous. And there should be an outcry. First of all, where's the union, as somebody mentioned, to support this, to support these students and this teacher, these educators that are being abused? Where are the elected officials? Where are the administrators? And why is this man he'll be allowed to come back to a building where he sexually assaulted and harassed people?
A teacher, though.
How?
Jesus. An educator that also highlighted the fact that this has happened before. Someone who I work with that I know is an honorable person, and I know that she's telling the truth. And why is she not being protected? Why is she not being respected? It's deeper even to the fact that when there was a senior last year who brought up that this happened to her, and no one they did not do anything. It was not acknowledged. The same leader, the same school. And this young lady is now in college and still traumatized. And yes, the Atlanta Student Coalition has spoken with her.
It just goes
she is not prepared to even address something on our platform so people can even hear her voice around it because of the shame that she went through in her school and what she saw Atlanta Public Schools leaders do and continue to allow. And so do you think the students want to come forward and say, this is happening to me so that I could be further harassed and made to feel bad and made to feel as if I was actually the person that did something wrong when wrong was done to me? Where is the champion? This is what I posted and tagged all of these Douglas alumni. Remember, the mayor of Atlanta is an alumni of Frederick Douglass High School. City council members are alumni of Frederick Douglass High School. T.I., Killer Mike, all of these, you know, big time Atlanta entertainers who people always want to say this is Wakanda and the Black Mecca. These students are now looking like, where are the people who are on our side, who are really going to stand up and say enough is enough with how we're doing public schools in the city of Atlanta, the home of the civil rights movement?
I'm just like, believe Black women. Like,
yes,
believe Black women. Because that's the reason why it was able to go on for so long. That's the reason why R. Kelly got away with what he did, you know, because nobody believed these Black women.
No one.
And then they look at Black women as if they're like hyper sexualized. So they're like, oh, well, you put yourself in that situation. You know, the teacher said that the man shoved his tongue down her throat. Like, that's unwillingly. Just disgusting. Very disgusting.
And again, all the people that are deflecting, all the people that are, again, trying to allow these people to escape what they've done. They're criminals too. They're to blame too.
They're a part of
it. Again, that system that's only suspending this principle. The people that are saying that, you know, R. Kelly's been doing this for a while or whatever the case, all of you all are guilty too. All of y'all. And the minute we hold people accountable for their crimes, for their actions, is the minute that we are better off as a community, we are better off as a country. But for some reason we have issues doing that. And I don't get it. Because, and it takes for it to be personal, because realistically, if it becomes your sister, your mother, your child that's assaulted, that's when you want to get upset. Right. But if it's the person next door, you don't care because it ain't got nothing to do with you. So this is why we need the village.
We need the village. Who is the champion for our children in public schools? Yeah. And that is a major question. And that's what the students are going to be saying today at 4:00. Atlanta will be there. And I'm challenging all of the organizations that are talking about diversity and social justice and equity. You all should be standing there with us, supporting students. And it doesn't matter what type of school they're in. We need to move politics aside and do what's right for our young people, our children, for Black women who are saying, well, we need help. Stop abusing us. Just simple, but it's the system. And why do we uphold these systems that continue to do violence against Black people? And I know we're going to be shining a light on how the system continues to criminalize Black people unjustly, just because of the color of their skin.
Yeah. And ignore Black women.
Yes.
Yeah. That's good.
So let's go ahead and get into the conversation. I think that's a perfect segue if we can go ahead and bring our guests on, because they look ready in the back. So.
All right. Yeah. All right. Welcome, guys. How are y'all doing today?
Doing good.
Great.
Doing well. How y'all doing?
Good.
Good.
I want y'all to go ahead and introduce yourselves. So let's go ahead and start with Jess.
I'm Jess Eddy, Oklahoma City, white ally community activist. They call me the White Riot, but that is not an admission of any criminal conduct.
No, that's right. I didn't do it.
I'm Irv Rowland, Oklahoma City native, born and raised, assistant coach for the Utah Jazz. And as you can hear, it's a little loud in the background. I'm in practice right now, so appreciate y'all having us on.
Thank y'all for joining us.
Yes, most definitely.
Welcome. So the world is learning about Julius Jones, continually learning about Julius Jones. And we recently had some really big updates. We had a win, and then we had what I would consider as seemingly a loss, even if it is a month and a half. But go ahead and tell us what that update is.
Yeah, on yesterday, 2 days ago, the Oklahoma County District Attorney.
And before, I'm so sorry. Before you get started, go ahead and so for those who don't know about Julius Jones, go ahead and just kind of give us, some context of who.
Yeah, I'll in 1999, Julius was charged and convicted under a prosecutor in Oklahoma known as Cowboy Bob, who sent more people to death row than any other prosecutor in American history. Sought the death penalty for anything and everything. Julius's trial counsel failed him, namely in presenting his alibi testimony. His mother, brother, father, mother, all were able to testify that he was with them at the time a white man was murdered in a carjacking in a white suburb of Oklahoma City. They didn't get to present that alibi testimony, and then deals were struck between people who we believe did commit that crime to testify against Julius. Deals were made, light sentences were given, charges were dismissed, and so now for 22 years, Julius has been on death row in Oklahoma. And thanks to the love and support of his family, his friends, his community, they have been able to raise awareness throughout this nation and throughout the world as to the actual innocence claim that Julius has. We know from the facts that he is innocent of the crime of murder, and that he should not be on death row and not in prison. And we have been advocating for some years now to see his release. We are getting close, but our enemies are becoming more committed to killing him. And so that, as Nehemiah was referring to, just this week, the district attorney, the current district attorney, who has a long history of racist prosecutions and racism through his office and time in office, has sought to convene a grand jury, and in doing so, stop the Oklahoma Pardon and Parole Board from continuing to recommend clemency and commutation for Julius. They've recommended commutation. His life is in the governor's hands, but this district attorney is trying to use all of the powers of his offices. He's working in conspiracy with one of his assistant district attorneys, who is the wife of the judge who convenes the grand jury. It's corruption that we have never before seen in this county on this kind of level in broad view of the entire public. So we are working both support his family, support Julius, and then counter and defend him from this really vile form of racism here in Oklahoma.
Irv, you went to high school with Julius. Can you tell us a little bit about the day that you found out that your friend was wanted and then convicted for murder?
Yeah, so Julius and I, we played basketball against each other growing up. And he actually went to one of my rival high schools. I went to Carl Albert in Midwest City, and he went to John Marshall. But I've known Julius since I was around 8, 9 years old. My father was actually Julius's middle school assistant principal. And, you know, I've also known Chris Jordan since I was younger.
Wow.
And, you know, Julius, you know, to this day, even in his situation, is somebody of high spirits. You know, I always talk about, you know, we all go through our little stuff day to day, whether it's a flat tire or, you know, stuff that we could easily get fixed. And he's been sitting in a situation he's been in for the last 22 years, and he calls me and he uplifts me. But in 1999, I was a senior in high school. Julius was a freshman in college. And, you know, I remember when it hit the newspaper, and I found out the individuals that they had connected to this case, there was no way any of us who knew Julius believed that he committed this crime. Chris Jordan, they called him, you know, West Side growing up. Everybody, as soon as we saw his name attached to it, everybody was like, man, come on, man, Chris did that. And, you know, Chris has, you know, gone on record to tell different inmates at different prisons over the last 10, 15 years that he framed Julius for this. So, you know, you'll never get me to believe that, you know, Julius committed such a crime.
My goodness. So Julius and his sister, his siblings and family, they maintain that Julius was home with his family during the time that Christopher Jordan and this other individual hijacked or which or were hijacking the vehicle from Mr. Paul House. So Paul House, the guy who is the murdered victim, recently his girlfriend at the time dropped an explosive op-ed in the Black Wall Street Times that pretty much said that she didn't believe that Julius is the murderer and that Christopher Jordan is. And I think the one thing that got me hooked to this case is the fact that Paul House's sister, who was in the driver's seat at the time of the murder, profiled Christopher Jordan, but he did not profile Julius Jones. Yet today, we have yet today Julius is scheduled to be executed on November 18th.
Yeah.
My goodness, scheduled to be executed on November 18th. Paul House's sister, the description that she gave, and everybody here has been around Black people or is Black, so y'all know what a fade looks like, and y'all know what some cornrows that are long enough to be able to curl up from underneath the stocking cap look like.
Right.
And so Christopher Jordan had some cornrows, and they were not even tight, right? Had some cornrows, and then the cornrows they curled from beneath the stocking cap at the back, and that was the description that she gave. Nevertheless, this past September, we have Paul House's sister on at the commutation hearing, saying that changing her story. 22 years later, she's changing her story just to ensure that this innocent person is executed. Why do y'all think that is? Like, do y'all think that David Prater had anything to do with that, or like, do you think the family just wants to get justice, period, and they're ignoring the fact that they could be killing an innocent person?
Well, we have no doubt. I mean, he's appeared in press conferences with the family that the district attorney is heavily influencing the family to make statements and take certain positions. But one of the remarkably beautiful things about I think Black people in America and definitely Black people supporting Julius and his family is that even despite things like changing testimony, there is a lot of grace and compassion that is being extended to the Howell family,
Right.
Because we realize that they have not received justice. And that they've suffered a terrible loss, a terrible trauma. I mean, his children were in the car, his sister was sitting next to him. I mean, so it's hard to digest that and talk about those changes in testimonies. We know that they have a very malicious actor working with them closely in the district attorney, but we can understand their rage. And they're out, they're hurt and things like that. And we've really been intentional about trying to communicate that, this isn't just about, we're not planning on getting Julius out and just leaving this case to rest. We want justice for Paul Howell too, because at this time, Julius, half his life is gone. So finding the real killer, holding the real killer accountable is justice for Julius and justice for Paul Howell. Their interests are aligned. And so, we have been very intentional about extending our love and really, turning the other cheek at offenses that, come from them. On the other hand, legal professionals like the district attorney who have a higher calling and responsibility to ethics and the law and truth and candor, that's a different game. And that is really appalling. And we've been working our best with all allies and friends to really steal and defend Julius from those attacks. It's been really hard to see. And, I want to say, we believe Black women and Black women are the strength of this movement as they were the strength of the civil rights movement in the 60s. And one of the things that is just so tragic about this is that the people that are at the core of supporting Julius his mother, his sister, Cece Jones Davis. The affliction that they are feeling, the pain and trauma that this is indirectly affecting upon them, and directly is unconscionable. But the strength that they are demonstrating in absorbing those wounds and healing at the same time, proceeding and carrying on, is something that I've never witnessed. The strength of Black women will save not only Julius Jones, but will save the soul of America. And I look to their leadership, and I believe firmly that in following their leadership, we will see the liberation of Julius.
Wow.
Can I jump in real quick and say something? This is sounding real Central Park Five-ish to me, and it's disturbing.
Yes.
And it's ridiculous that we're seeing again these relative history that repeat themselves in the justice system, and that there are blatant inconsistencies in this trial, in this case, that are being ignored not only by the justice system but by the victim's family. And it makes me think that maybe this has been going on for so long. And when we talk about justice, they just want to see somebody go down for their closure, which is not right. And just the second point, Jess, you were saying that Black women are the core of a lot of movements, but I just want to highlight the fact that Black women get tired of being strong all the damn time. And I really want to normalize us being able to chill. Right. And not having to be the shoulders and that hoist all of these movements. And so my heart goes out to the women in Julius Jones's family that have had to carry this, because obviously they shouldn't have to, but it's the expectation that Black women be strong. And so if y'all can give them a message, because you're in contact with the family, it's okay to lean on other people. You don't have to be strong all the time. And I know that they got to be strong for Julius, but at the same time they got to lay those burdens down some way. So I just want to say that as a Black woman that gets tired of being strong all the damn time.
And Tanisha, I'm so happy that you brought that up. So before this episode, got planned, I remember I had texted Jess and I said, I thought about having Cece, who is one of the drivers of this movement, and Antoinette, Julius's sister, on the show. And I said, I think they need a break, because they are constantly going. A few weeks ago, I was in Washington, D.C., and this was the Monday. This was, I think, the Thursday right after that Monday, we had got that hearing. And I was in Washington, D.C. with Dr. Tiffany Crutcher and attorney Ben Crump. And I was just thinking, like, watching her go all the time.
Wow.
Like nonstop. And then I remember I was like, okay, well, let me just, check on Antoinette and see how she's doing. And she was like, we're in New York, we're filming, something. And I don't know if it was I think it was 10 or 11 o'clock at night when she responded to me. I was just like, damn, these Black women, they just going and going and going. And I think the next day I text Cece and I was like, how you feeling? And she gave me her honest opinion. And I'm like, these Black women, they usually, they show so much resilience.
Yes.
But when they're tired, like really, really, really tired, they are so honest about it. And then I'm like, we need to step up. Like Black men, allies, we need to step all the way up. Still, listen to their wisdom. But we got to step up, because they cannot do this stuff by themselves. They will do it by themselves, but they shouldn't have to. That's the point that, my sister was making.
And Black America shouldn't have to. I think that it is great that we do have a white ally on, but this is something that even in my campaign and connected to communities across Atlanta, we have to be very conscious about what human capital is. Compassion. Like, I have compassion about this, not because I'm identified as a color. I'm a human being, and I understand that this is a falsehood and it should not move forward, especially when it's impacting a decision around if someone is going to live or have their life taken from them. And these conversations are not, and shout out to the ESC that's running our Atlanta link and posted that students are not even being allowed to talk about this subject in our public schools because of the fear of critical race theory. But these are things that are happening to them and their loved ones. And they're like, why is no one talking about this, regardless if it's in another city or not? It's happening everywhere. And so I definitely would love to hear about some strategies and ways that people who are not in the area where Julius' family is located, you know, if you're in Atlanta, you're in the Bahamas, you're in Africa, wherever you are in time and space right now watching this conversation, how can we connect to educate, you know, donate if we need to do that, and even help bring awareness to this conversation? Brother Neil, I'm actually asking you because this may be one of your questions, but I would love to know how
can I add on to that real quick? Because we know the Equal Justice Initiative is very active in death row cases, particularly against Black men. And so have they been involved? Has Brian Stevenson made a statement? Like, what organizations are working with you guys? And again, why is this not being discussed nationally? Because this is
y'all about to make me flip out up on this screen. And here's the reason why. It's like, it is like, we literally have the biggest celebrities, the biggest advocates for justice in the country and world that have brought this. Like last week, Julia, this case was on Dr. Oz. It was on The View. It's been on Nightline. It's been everywhere, right? Kim Kardashian is involved. Like, a lot of the major NBA stars have spoken out. Like, the world knows. But the crazy thing about Oklahoma, right, the place that killed a bunch of my ancestors and wiped out my community, it's like they have so much control, and there's a wickedness that is over that place. Let me tell y'all, I drove a few weeks ago. I drove from Atlanta to to be with Jess and to be with Julius's families and other activists in Oklahoma. I drove 12 hours straight, right? Got straight to the church. And it's been a long time since I've like really like begged God and cried out to God. I only go to God when I know that there's nothing that I can do further, to get from A to Z. When I know there's nothing else I can do, I have to lean on God, because that's all I have. And in this situation, that was all I had, because I've seen this. I have seen these activists. I have seen, even Kim Kardashian, a lot of these other celebrities and the family, like, go hard, overextend themselves, right? For this to be, for this to help shape public opinion about the case. And not even a move. Like, even the prosecutor himself is adamant, we are going to kill this man. You have Viola Davis, who unfolds everything brilliantly, beautifully. You have Amanda Bosch, who goes and sits down right at the Pardon and Parole Board hearing, and convinces, right, 3 out of the 4 parole board office members to commutate this young man's sentence, because they believe there's a lot of doubt in his case. Nevertheless, the governor sends a letter after 6-7 million signatures, right? After tons of people have sent letters to the governor asking the governor to accept his own pardon and parole board's recommendation to commute this young man's sentence. And he says, I'm not going to accept this recommendation. The majority of the board voted for this young, like, that is the shit that really just trips me out. And at that point in time, I have nothing else to lean on but God. And I thank God for the faith that Cece and that Antoinette and his mother have, because their strength in God has literally restored my faith. Because that's all I have.
So, damn, Neo, you probably got us. I'm finna cry. This is tough, but I want to, Irvin, just what are next steps? Because it almost seems like, it's like Neo's on here crying. Now you got to go to the higher power to say, to ask for some kind of miracle. But what are next steps? Because it seems like all efforts and options have almost been exhausted. So what do we do? Where do we go next?
Yes, good question.
Yeah, so we're, obviously this is just a really difficult community organizing strategy approach, because a Republican administration has Julius in a death grip. So we've had to be really strategic, about how we're going to approach the situation. We can't just raise hell, for example, at this time, and so we're really asking people, nationally, locally, to do a couple of things. One is to write the governor of this state, who has the pardoning power, the clemency power, the power to liberate Julius, to implore him, Governor Kevin Stitt, to see the life that we have in our hands, and to see the value of that, and to see that he's innocent, to see that the state did not prove a reasonable doubt, meet its reasonable doubt standard. We're asking people to speak on this in all spaces, in any state in this city in this nation, to ask our friends of influence, to ask people who we don't know, who we can only tweet at, who has influence, to uplift Julius's story, his voice. But for direct actionables, we have an amazing team that CC has set out. JusticeForJuliusJones.com has actionable items, has media content packages, has documentaries about what the story is. So that's www.justiceforjuliusjones.com. Please visit that site. Find us on Facebook, on Insta, on Twitter at Justice for Julius Jones, or some variation thereof, and follow us and retweet and share, and then follow along. We're starting in Oklahoma. We're starting prayer vigils daily tonight at 6 o'clock across from the governor's office in Oklahoma City, and at the John Hope Franklin Reconciliation Park, one of the central spaces for the survivors and descendants of the Tulsa Race Massacre. Our communities across the state are going to be gathering in prayer and in power to request Julius's release. And so people want to attend those in person or find those live streams and share them. But we're going to be doing that every day until Julius is free. Like Nehemiah said, we've got a October 26th clemency hearing that's going to take all day, that we're going to be asking all our national and local partners to uplift and share and amplify our message for liberation. And then if we're not able to get a decision to release him by November 18th and those weeks preceding, we're going to be amplifying our message and seeking grace and the righteousness from the state, and that's a tough place to be in. It is, but it is the fact that Julius's head is in the mouth of a lion, the state of Oklahoma, and we've got to gently pry it out.
And if I could just add, like when Jess says literally in the mouth, I don't know if you guys have seen Just Mercy, the movie Just Mercy. And there was a point where some of the inmates were taken closer to the death chamber, right? And they could smell the flesh of the people that were being executed. Is it on October 15th, Jess? They are actually going to move this innocent brother closer to where he's scheduled to be executed. So it's a smaller room, right? It's a smaller room where he's going to have 24-hour surveillance.
And none of his belongings.
None of his belongings.
No, none of his letters.
Like, just think about, like, just let that sink into your soul, like mentally, you know. I'm like, that is terrorism. It's terrorism. It really hurts. It really breaks me.
That's torture.
Whew.
That's torture.
It's you know, we talk about the strength of Black women, and you know, I'm light skinned, so you know we already predestined to be emotional. But you know, it really eats away at me daily because, you know, I was active with Breonna Taylor, close with her family now, and spent a lot of time in Louisville. And as Jess said, you know, we've been very cautious on how we approached Julia's situation. When I went to Louisville, we had an action where we went and we you know, we sat on the lawn of Daniel Cameron and agitated him and stuff like that. And with Daniel Cameron, it was kind of a situation where, like, look, we're trying to get justice for the family, but Breonna Taylor is gone and we're all upset. And I think so many of us, you know, we saw that case as like, look, Breonna Taylor could have been my mother, my girlfriend, my sister, whatever. And so with Julius, I tell people, you know, Julius could literally be any of us because, you know, with his situation, he chose to go one route, went to college, but he was still connected with guys that chose to go another path. And all of us have friends like that chose a path that we didn't choose. And, you know, to talk to Julius all the time, I talk to Julius about probably every 2 days. And his spirit, his compassion, all he talks about is getting out and wanting to help young people. And, you know, over the last week and a half, 2 weeks, all of that has kind of been deflated from him. And, you know, it's hard for me to go along my daily life and just, you know, do the things we want to do because I'm like, you know, this literally could be us. This literally could be us.
Yeah.
And, you know, we're just, this thing is so fragile now because, you know, Nehemiah, you were there. CC told us, like, hey, you know, JB talked about, you know, we want to walk this fine line. We don't want to piss anybody off because Julius is still alive. Usually when we're talking about justice for somebody, it's for someone that passed away. But Julius is still alive. And, you know, we're in a time crunch because we only got a couple weeks. We only got, you know, less than a month or two. And we want to fight, but we want to do it strategically. But at the same time, it's like, you know, this sense of urgency that we all have, man, it's really eating away at us, man.
Yeah, I wanted to ask a question because I'm looking at a lot of the comments from, you know, from Facebook and some on YouTube, some from students, some from strategists, some from people across the nation. And I believe just in studying movements that we have to really focus on this time because, as you just mentioned, there's a time factor here. And looking at what has worked in the past and what went wrong. And one of the questions and comments that I like, it says that this has to be a fight that is fought harder, but in a different way. And how my question is around how are we leveraging the businesses that are supporting the state, the businesses and the entities that are supporting the governor? How are we leveraging them? How are we leveraging the labor force and the workforce? Because I have read articles around workforce development there, and the workforce is frustrated and they're ready to walk. So how are we getting them connected to this fight to bring attention, to bring awareness, to bring an economic impact that will definitely influence the governor? Because quite frankly, I mean, as the truth be told, and history has shown us that they don't value this brother's life. And so what they do value is the dollar. And so how can we impact the dollar to make them do the right thing?
Yeah, I mean, that the that's certainly a reality that is within in the scope of the coalition's vision. You know, the coalition in Oklahoma and nationally is broad and does include business leaders and the kinds of public figures that are important to a state's macroeconomic growth. And I think it's it's been very clear by the coalition that and by outside entities and business leaders and institutions within the state that, you know, that to execute Julius in light of such a tremendous factually established reasonable doubt of his innocence would be to create a culture in Oklahoma that is not conducive to many people, you know, certainly not, you know, businesses and contemporary culture. I mean, that kind of will set a tone for this state of that's deeply problematic to people who want to attract business growth and jobs and economic opportunity. You know, companies that are, you know, based now on the coast or in other commercial hubs in other cities. And, you know, that you know, this case has received such high profile public attention. And not to speak on this, but, you know, in the event that we were to lose Julius in light of this circumstance, it's been made very clear that, you know, that would be bad for business. Nobody wants to live in a state where the justice system is unconstrained and unhinged in such a way. And I think that has broad appeal, that transverses political partisanship, that transverses political philosophies and conservative and progressive leanings. Everybody wants to live in a place where justice is fair, or at least everybody in their right mind.
Can I jump? One of the things that was interesting to me that you said, just that it would be bad for business. And I think that we need to, and not to say that this isn't a proactive effort, because it very much so is, but it needs to be bad for business now. And I put in the comments that, you know, some kind of Black statewide boycott would be optimal. You know, if y'all do a call to action, even if y'all have all of the power from these celebrities, all of the voices, all the platforms, this reach, this national reach, some kind of boycott to hit their pockets, because again, they see the rallies, they see the protests, and that don't move them anymore. Again, when you hit the pockets, that's when they get to moving. And so I just want to say that, you know, if we're talking about it should be right now. And this is me coming from Chicago, just trying to present some kind of like different calls to action or different actions, period, so that we can get this man off of death row. I'm even sitting here thinking, how did you get to death row? Like how did y'all get from maybe life in prison to death row?
Yeah,
and to me, that just shows how much America values the life of a Black man, to say, hey, we just go throw you away. We're God. We're going to play God in your life. We just going to take it. You know?
And also just to the focus on solutions, because I know that we're coming to the end of our time, but I definitely want us to have people walk away with solutions. So Brother Neo, make sure you connect with some of the comments in the chat, because people across the nation, they want to help. And Tanisha, the young ladies in Atlanta said that something needs to be done by everyone. Black women are tired of leading everything. And I think they may be speaking for all of you all on their behalf. And I think that is so true. America does need to step up. I want to see Americans everywhere. This is a human rights issue, and we have to be conscious of how many times people are strategically cut off because we say, well, it's a Black man and this is white America. Well, it's America because we all are Americans. And this is something that I applaud the National Parents Union for really helping to educate people on. We are one race. I don't teach my students that we are colors. Yeah. We are a human race. And so I need human beings who value humanity as much as they value the dollar to say, this is not right. It's not saying that this family should not get justice, but an innocent man, someone who definitely has another person who is already in custody saying that I set this man up. This is a humanity issue. Human
That's
beings,
good.
if you understand the language that I'm speaking, this is what I'm asking you, is that if you are a human who understands compassion and decency, you should be alarmed by this. You should say, yes, we want to hold people accountable, but someone should not lose their life to prove a point that we simply can because we have the power to. We should be seeking justice on both sides. And this is a disservice to both families. And I'm going to be quite honest. No family will get justice for this. And the people that are making the family believe that, yes, this innocent man needs to be killed for justice, they are being bamboozled too. This is not a black or white issue. And I want people to understand this, because this is the miseducation of Americans. Baby, let me be right up front with everybody that black people are not the only people miseducated in these United States of America. It is everyone. And we need to start speaking humanity, because that is what is needed. And if anybody is willing to understand that, you can always come on into my classroom, and I will be more than willing to show you the amazing things that my school is doing that is connecting humanity. This is not a racial issue, a class issue. This is a human rights issue. And we need to be focusing on that. Let's get to work, everybody. Let's make it happen.
Thank you, Jason. You really, that was it. That's exactly it right there. Normally we would all give our final thoughts, and I know, you know, time is of the essence. We're getting ready to you know, sign off, but I don't know if Roland is still on, and Jess, but I know that the governor or the governor's office is always kind of paying attention to what's going on the Black Wall Street Times. So if you could say anything to him or his immediate staff, what would that be today? If you could speak to them directly.
Yeah, and Irv had to run to practice. You know, I just wanted to say to them, you know, very solemnly, that, you know, we've had our differences in politics and on various issues, but this is unlike the rest, a man's life on the line, and we just ask that the full gravity be given, and we know that the governor is a man of faith, who is familiar with the teachings of Jesus Christ, and that you know, we'd ask that he be in prayer on that messaging, the teachings of Christ, and that to save one life is to save the world, and that, you know, Julius's life is important to all of us, and we just pray that we can all transcend the differences in this world that separate us, and that he can see Julius as his brother as much as I see Julius as mine, and that maybe through this experience we can all come to live in a better world, and overcome some of our differences and see each other for the value of human life that each one of us is. Thanks.
Yeah, that was
just
that was so beautiful.
That was beautiful.
I feel you. You know, in studying so many different religions, I'm challenging again everyone. Every faith connects to this, and it's the power of love, and that's what connects us as human beings. And if you follow Christ, if you follow Muhammad, if you follow the wind that blows outside, you understand the power of love. And so that's what I'm speaking to right now, just hearing both of these brothers who have shared their hearts with petitioning God to say we need an intervention. And so God is an energy. God is a noun, which is an idea of a being that has control over the energy that we put out, regardless of what path you follow. So this is something that everyone still can be inclusive of, is that whatever prayer that you pray, if it's done in love, that energy will somehow connect to this governor, and hoping that we can really start to see that there are better ways to get things done. And we should not reward justice with taking another life and making people feel as if this is what it is, because it's not. Humanity. We're speaking to humanity, everybody. Everyone can do something. Spread this message, please. Education is power.
Amen. Well, I thank y'all for uplifting Julius's story, his messaging. I thank, the people supporting him. And I want to leave this on a note of optimism and confidence that we will see our brother liberated from the bondage that has afflicted him and all of his family and his community. We will see that manifestation.
On this side.
Thank you.
Amen.
Thank you. Thank you for the work that you're doing. And thank you for speaking out for this brother and his family. Thank you so much.
No, that's a moral obligation of any white person that's familiar with the history of oppression in America. So no gratitude is needed. But thank you anyways.
Well, I think we about ready, y'all. This was, as we said early on, this is gonna be a heavy show, and I don't know about y'all. And we sorry to do this on the Friday, but as always, we're gonna keep it real and tell the truth because we're about liberation, we're about education, we're about activism. So this is something that y'all need to know. Y'all need to know that Julius Jones's life matters and his life is in danger. So do what y'all can to help save this man's life. But I think that's it, y'all. I think we out for today. So
Amen.
Until next Friday.